Zegapain. What does it mean to be alive? You know, I didn't want to do this. I was perfectly content leaving this anime alone. But then the thought of, hey, I wonder what the anime community thought about this anime popped into my head, and then I saw, which compelled me to show exactly what I thought about the anime.
Straight doodle butter!
This is what I think about Zegapain. Zegapain was a pain to watch. I've never gone through an anime and just been visibly frustrated to watch it, and for so long at that. If Zegapain is supposed to be a good mecha anime, then mechas are garbage. So let me explain why Zegapain is shit. So the anime starts out with a scene of a main character crashing and landing onto a moon. This event could have been a foreshadowing event of the or a flashback. We then get a shot of the school and go to our main character in a kissing scene. After the scene, he sees a girl on a diving board, so he goes out to go meet her. But surprise, surprise, no one was there. The day goes on and no one knows who this girl is. Now I say all that just to say the first 5 episodes are just a straight dumpster fire. And if you simply go off of what's put or like thrown to you in the first 5 episodes and you decide to stop watching, I do understand. I was also very confused early on and really the entire time watching it. But then after episode 6 is dropped, you literally get some answers to your questions. And all my complaints are really just thrown out the window because of how people early on did not know who she was, to then the next day her being the most popular girl in the school. How the world is fake and he's dead, or more exactly the entire human race is dead. How the people on the ship are nothing more than just data collected who are put into a shell of a body, or how if he tries to go outside the zone, he's gonna be put back into the zone, as well as if you walk too far away from your ship, your hologram is gonna react to this. Oh, and how this is actually his ex-girlfriend who has been fighting to keep him alive and regain his memory. The reason this is such a big deal is because only a certain amount of people can actually be brought back to fight in this war. So in this situation, the captain could bring someone willing to fight other than him, even though he's worth like 10 of those people. But he would also be lost forever if she decided not to help. But the reason why I say X is because the new version of him wants to date his childhood friend over her. Ouch. Yeah, the more I watched, the more I slowly understood what was actually going on, what the true concept of the show was. You see, Kai's going through this perspective altering discovery that he's nothing more than just data that fights the so-called invaders of the world, and for what? Basically nothing. And for a long part of the show, this is just swept under the rug and no one ever really brings it up. Not even Kai really talks about himself. He's too busy trying to come to terms with his own death and that the world is just a recycled term of his school year, which when you say it out loud is very understandable. But to do that the entire anime, and the fact that they still handled it a bit poorly, is what I really disliked about the anime. We'll get to that later. At the time watching this part in particular, I had a different point to bring up. Like, no one tried to really help him cope with this fact. Like in some animes, they really have this sappy hug it out type of scene. He's just told to kind of deal with. Keep in mind, he's the best pilot who can literally take out an entire fleet by himself. Put in anyone at the cockpit for his like side pilot, whatever, he can take out an entire fleet. But in the grand scheme of things, he's just a clog of the machine, so they didn't really care. Kai is having to be reminded over and over and over again that he's not real.
Kaminagi and Tomigai and Karage, everybody, we're all trapped in this thing?
It's the truth. It's reality. It's the realest thing you'll ever see.
And he just won't come to terms with that fact. He won't accept it. And really, why should he? In a world where everything is just literally data, right? And to some people, this world might sound to be like some type of paradise because you think people could live forever and stay young, but it's far from some type of paradise. From going back and forth from the Zegapain battlefield and the fake world that they know to come to know of, there is a side effect, that being the Zegapains. Take away some of your files every time you go back and forth. These files hold the data that comes to be you, what makes you you, meaning you can basically die with having no chance of coming back from fighting. But if you don't fight, the enemy will kill you. So rip immortality. Plus the people in the town have been acting the same way for the 5-month span over 100 cycles. So that's like 500 months, give or take, not able to ever really move on or move forward. For someone like Kai who knows this, that world could be like a hell. If what helps him cope with this fact and stop him from asking more questions or really starting a mutiny is Kaminagi. She learns about everything later on, but she distracts him from the real world and all the negatives that come with it. And really, she's a hindrance throughout the anime, to me anyways, to why Kai doesn't really ask more questions or really go through any type of character real breakdown, because she's just kind of there to hinder him. Her existence as a main character is just kind of weird. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna start talking about what really sucked about this anime. I love the whole idea of the whole what is real and what is fake, a blind immortality versus living a full life, quote unquote. But the people here didn't ask enough questions. And when it was time to demand some type of answers, it was literally too late to actually matter in the plot. Like the whole big betrayal part, there was no need to really not tell the rest of the crew members what was going on. I get not telling Kai about this because he's the main part of it, but after it was done, there was no point in keeping people in the dark and trying to make it suspicious. How Lu Xing was an issue for the commander, that makes no sense to me. Yes, he would be the one asking a question, but I do mean a question. There was only one time, which was by the end of the anime, he felt like he needed to give us an answer. Besides that, everyone felt like they were just mindless sheep, never asking a single question about anything they were ever doing. There should have been a mutiny a very long time ago if this was the case and it was happening a lot. Another point I had was for long part in the anime, like I said, are people just fighting for the sake of fighting. The characters were just hoping that their fighting has some type of purpose, but it never really did. For a very long time, there was no purpose that showed up in the anime.
Why throw our lives away in a worthless battle on account of Shima's obsession? I'm not that big a fool.
That's it, damn it!
You really have forgotten the way things are, haven't you? I got way more kills out there than you, Ace.
We were both pilots originally. Like the two of you.
The little battles felt meaningless. The only time I felt that they had an important battle is when they were protecting the current server. But besides that, most fights were pointless. Also, by the time they went on to the final mission, there was no real change in equipment, technology, knowledge, and if there was some type of big change, that was not really made clear to the audience. And after they did decide to go on, I was left there with more questions. Why didn't they do this sooner? You know? Did no one else ask that question? I don't know. Something I also noticed that was just really just apparent to me, I'm so compelled to skip parts. Like, I normally would never skip any parts in anime if I decide to review them, but there was just a lot of dead space in the anime, or parts that just didn't seem to matter. Like I said, a lot of mecha fights felt this way in general, and the parts where Kai would go on his little dates with Kaminagi were really just dead ends for me. Literally most every time he went back to school, also after episode 6, didn't have very much meaning. Some episodes I of course did, like when his friend, the Kaminagi, were all basically getting ready to have their own Zegapains or whatever. They were having that transition. Those episodes were important, but there's a lot of episodes that weren't important. Another part I really hated about the anime was Shizuno. Now look, she was my preferred waifu for the series, and to me, she's the ultimate side chick. There's a list of helpful things she actually did in the anime to not only help Kai, but everyone else. But for one, she was able to put away her own feelings for Kaya aside the entire time in the anime, watching her boyfriend go on dates with Kaminagi, having to give her spot next to him for Kaminagi, pulling a freaking darling in the Franxx and riding with the chubby kid. After Kaminagi dies, she spends an entire night and a half digging through data pieces to find her. Mind you, when everyone else gave up in the anime, mourning her death and moving on.
Why? Why did you bring her back?
For Kyo's sake.
And is Kyo happy about this? Is Ryoko?
Think of who you're talking to. I was the one who found her data. Do you really think I could just delete it? They're fragments, but they're still her.
I'm not as strong as Shima is, I know.
She didn't get a thank you at all for bringing Kaminagi back, and I'm blown away. She was willing to die for the main character in the last episodes. Keep in mind, she was bailed out, right? But that was like a suicide mission. During this time, by the end of it, she wasn't even able to actually like touch him or like interact with him at all because she's 100% data. She got hit from that laser beam, that was it. You should have not seen her ever again. No existence at all, not even as a data piece. Lastly, this entire anime, she's consistently saying, or mentioning to anyone else how much she loves the main character. And he's just like, I didn't regret meeting you. ultimate side chick and doesn't even get a thank you the entire anime. I don't even know what to say. They're just, she did all that while Kamanagi's just over here doing whatever. I don't even know. In terms of like actual importance to the show, sure, he can take on the entire fleet. He's the main character, whatever, right? But she did so much for the actual show. It's crazy. It's not even a competition at this point. But no, for real, what I really hated about her character was that they never tried to dive into their memories together as a couple, or in general, much of her backstory. Anything that was mentioning their backstory was just summed up to a couple lines in a flashback. Really, like, while I'm getting thrown the same lines of dialogue about what it means to be real, or whatever date Kai's on with Kamanagi, or him just kind of just being mad and yelling for whatever reason, you know? Shizuno has nothing on her actual character. Does she do a lot in the anime? Yeah, but actual like written stuff about her, like backstory or as a character, there's nothing. For a lot of part of the anime, she was not given that many dialogue scenes or main focused in the anime in general. All the stuff I listed is just her doing little background things for like a minute and that's it. This wasn't much to ask for in general when you have 28 episodes. I know animes with 12 episodes that could actually write out more about their characters in this anime. Mentioning, she was casted as a main character too. I think what really bothered me about this character is about how other characters would boost up their past, you know, in general, those two being together. But the main lead himself felt nothing, not even trying to look back at their past. If Kai had a real moment when he was recalling his past or tried to really look into it more, because he didn't, like the scene where he reads the diary from his past self, that was an actual moment when they could have went back and reflected on it, or at least talked about it. Heck, I would have been really fine with just having an actual conversation about it. After episode 6, it just feels like he woke up and realized he dumped her and she's just trying to move on. But the people around her won't let her forget about her past mistakes. Like, I don't know, a little bit mishandling there. Don't even get me started on the villains too. Don't even get me started. They weren't good. They weren't good villains. I think the villain part was just like a philosophy rather than an actual character for the villain, and that was just kind of the thing with it. I understand, but it was still just like they're not good. My final thought on the anime: it's definitely better than what I thought, and definitely better than when I originally rated the anime. You know, I know it's a good anime now, but when I think about what parts about it annoyed me, it feels really glaring to the point that I just have to point it out every time I look at this anime or talk about this anime. The dialogue from the anime was good, but it felt, you know, at times off. But that was really before episode, 6. Kai ate up 80% of the screen time and didn't really do as much with it as I would hope for him to do with it. He didn't have a real character breakdown, and that could have really made the anime great if he did. He had a pretty good opening to his character, pretty good end still, all things considered, but his mid part was just really just kind of like where you needed to have that breakdown in the character where he's kind of changing, looking back and, maybe rethinking his ideas, something. It just wasn't there. And then you could say maybe with that, oh, that's kind of an endearing like character type, but it's count as a flaw. If you look at some other mecha animes, like we're gonna take Evangelion. If you take Evangelion, I could noticeably see when a character took things hard and when they wanted to actually grow from it, or at least, kind of sounded like they were gonna grow from it a little bit. Kai stayed the same way from the start of the anime to the end of it. From the time he got his new memories from the end of the anime, Kai was it. That was done for his character. He wasn't gonna change. Shizuno didn't have much to her, and we already talked about it, and it was a bit sad to watch in general. She lost to the other girl, Kamanagi, was it? She lost her a lot in terms of just focus of the show, plot of the show. She lost to her a lot, even though Kamanagi's not going to bring as much as, say, Shizuno would have brought, right? And they could have changed Kamanagi at the end to where she has a very much different perspective, being more honest with her feelings in some ways than the original Kamanagi. So I'm not really going to get on it too much, because when she did lose her heart, basically, it was pretty good. Kingdom Hearts kind of moment. But yeah, it could have been better there for the whole love triangle. When writing the supporting characters, I feel like all they had to do was write one line to describe the backstory of each character, and that was it. And that's not good, but at the same time, the supporting characters were able to kind of alley-oop what could have been done to this anime. And to that point, I can't really get too mad at the supporting characters, because a lot of supporting characters can't do that. They can't be so bad but still give you something to the anime. That's kind of crazy to think about, but they actually do. I would say this anime is a 2.8 out of 5. Granted, this is, me not judging the sound or animation of this anime, because, it is a bit older. It's not fair to really judge it the same way I would judge like Demon Slayer or Vinland Saga or some other new age anime like Dr. Stone. You know, this is one of the better mecha animes I did watch, and I could actually see myself watching it again. And if you're willing to look past, you know, some of the issues, it's actually a really good series. But because I can't really look past the problems with this anime, I can't put it higher than a 2.8.